Hey everyone, what up? Matt Kaiser here. Now we're just 1 week away from the release of Granblue Fantasy Relink. Can you believe that? I can't believe it myself. Now, just like tradition speaks, I thought why not do a retrospective of the entire Granblue Fantasy series, starting all the way back with the original Granblue Fantasy mobile game, all the way up to Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising. And like before, I've contacted some good friends of mine who are fans of the series and will partake in this awesome retrospective collab. But before we begin, if you like what you've seen here, then by all means, like the video, click the subscribe button if you're new, and hit that bell notification icon if you want to get updated by all future Granblue Fantasy content from yours truly. Not only that, but I'm also aiming to reach a milestone of 750 subscribers, and hopefully if I do reach the milestone, I'll be able to play and review or what many consider to be the best or one of the best modern JRPGs of all time, which is Persona 5 Royal. So please do yourself a favor. With that said, back to the video. So without further ado, sit back, grab some snacks, a nice cold beverage, and unwind as we will deliver you to the sky and talk about this wonderful Granblue Fantasy retrospective.
Is it going, everyone? So without further ado, that's Justin, and I'm actually here to tell you a little bit about Granblue Fantasy mobile game here. I'm actually doing it from my PC. I didn't really want to set up my phone, so you're gonna have to bear with me. But I got asked to do this from a good friend of mine. Shout out to my friend Matt Kaiser for even asking me to be a part of this retrospective project here. But Granblue Fantasy, I got introduced to this game technically in 2015, but I didn't necessarily know about its origins. And I did my research back when the game first dropped. For me, of course, it actually dropped in 2014. Pretty soon, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Granblue Fantasy here. So I figured I'd go ahead and maybe play some of this and maybe talk a little bit about the game and what it means to me from my perspective, of course. But without further ado, we're gonna play some of the quests here. But if I had to pretty much give you a look at the game itself, if you played any games like Final Fantasy, Brave Exvius, or games that kind of resemble that, like Brave Frontier even, the game basically plays just like that. Actually, let me go ahead and click on one of the quests here so I can show you what I'm talking about. So when you go into the game itself, you gotta select, well, you don't have to select it, but you have a selection from any like fire summons, water summons, earth, wind, light, darkness, and miscellaneous, of course. I'm gonna go ahead and say, screw it. I'm gonna use Tiamat, because I think that's mine. No, that's not mine, that's somebody else's. But Tiamat Omega. From there, you got your selection from your party members and whatnot. I'm not even gonna sit here and bother with any of that. Oh, and fun fact, a while back they had a little collab with One Piece. I ended up getting Luffy here for free. But it's been a while since I've logged into this account, so you're gonna have to bear with me, man. Like I'm pretty bare bones right now. But yeah, let's go ahead and log in and let's progress the story a little bit here. Now, another thing too, so there is an anime, but I'm gonna let somebody else talk about that anime because I got asked to do the mobile game here. I'm gonna skip some of the story, but fun fact, if you want to know what happens in this game's story, you got 2 seasons of Granblue Fantasy, the animation that you can go into and check out because it mostly follows the game's main story anyway. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and do this here. Yeah. So a lot of this is gonna be like this here. You'll have like some sections where you'll have like the parties going up against like groups of enemies and whatnot, and they do have raids in this too, from what I understand as well. But as you can see, pretty much did my little due diligence here. Got some items here: grooming potion, satin feather, a treasure chest, and a couple of flying sprouts. Here's Vern, of course. the group's traveling companion. Well, he was referred to as a chicken at one point in the animation. Now, I know I'm talking about the animation, but it's so goddamn good. You should really go and check it out. But I'm gonna skip all of this because I mostly saw it a long time ago. But yeah, so if you skip, even if you skip some of the stuff here, it gives you like a brief summary of what's going on. So I named Grand Omega because back then I was going by Omega Wing Zero at the time. Let's see, but basically it says Omega and the others set out in search of the airship in the Engad's Highlands, but Catalina has her doubts as to whether they'll actually find one. Now, we're gonna skip past all that, and I think we're gonna go into another segment here. I don't think we're fighting here. Actually, yeah, we are. We are fighting. But yeah, like I said, if you played Brave Frontier, the games mostly resemble this. You got who's gonna go with first, second, third, fourth, etc. Now, let's go ahead and show you some gameplay. But yeah, they've done some collabs in the past, but the only one I managed to log in for was the One Piece one. Now, granted, I mean, I did pick the game up like one time and stopped playing it back then, but yeah, this is basically what the game is like. So with that, I'm gonna pass it on to somebody else because it's their turn mostly. But yeah, I decided to start playing this recently, and I haven't regretted it since. But yeah, thank you to Matt Kaiser for even asking me to do this. Hopefully, this is on the nose for what Matt Kaiser wanted me to do. But without further ado, that's it for me. That's Justin, and I'll see you guys next time.
Granblue Fantasy, the animation, is probably one of my favorite adaptations of all time, maybe. Literally, it encompasses a lot of what you want to learn about Granblue in a couple episodes. Like, I think there's 24, not that bad, right? And it allows you to get into a game that's otherwise locked behind a gacha system. And I know some people are like, ew, gacha, you know what I mean? Some people are coming from Rising, which is a fighting game, so I'm sure they're not really into the gacha. And some people want to play Relink, which comes out very, very soon. So honestly, I think the animation is probably the best place to start because you get a good baseline of a lot of the characters. They all act in character. They kind of just give a run through of what the story was, going up to like chapter 30 something, I think, in the gacha game, which honestly saves a lot of time, but then it also creates a lot of cooler moments that cannot be replicated by a gacha game, because you have like moments where they do the grand slam dunk, you have the Leviathan fight, which only takes like a couple of seconds in the mobile game, but in actual like anime form, they kind of stretch this thing out. They show a lot of characters you normally don't get to see. You get to see Boy Feather out here, you know, and I really like that. They do a little bit of extra flourishing to make sure that you feel like you're still part of this world, even though this is your first time experiencing it. And honestly, I hope they continue to do more of it, because where it left off, I think it was a good spot. But I mean, there's a lot of characters that are in these other games that are not represented yet. Like, so I haven't seen Fairy at all, really. I guess that's for the manga portion of this video. But they don't really go that deep into it. They kind of leave a few doors open for you to wonder about certain things. So I hope it comes back. It's unfortunate that the way that it started initially, and I think this kind of hurt it a lot, was that it was available on Netflix. I'm sure a lot of you guys are just now finding this out. It was available on Netflix, and that is why the first season is available in English. And the first season was done by A1, by the way, A1 Pictures. And they did a great job of adapting, you know, Granblue and keeping the tone right, keeping the characters looking good. You never felt like you were in a wrong spot, you know? It felt like everything was very authentic. It felt like they cared. A lot of, like I said, the shading and things like that and the environment kind of match exactly what the tone the gacha is going for. And I really like that. And that carries even further into part 2, which is done by Mappa Studios. Mappa Studios, with all the things that are going on right now, they are still like one of the top studios. Like, you know, they did JJK and a few other things. They came to Granblue Fantasy and they did this thing right. Like, a lot of the bigger fights are in the second season, and I want you guys to experience that for yourself, so I'm not going to really talk about them that much. I want you to see how they animated in detail a lot of these characters that normally don't get a lot of screen time, and they put them through it. They put them like at the frontmost section of the video. making them have really big action moments. Like I said, you have literal slam dunking Gran. Like, that is a crazy thing. It doesn't exist at all anywhere else. That is only a anime exclusive. But yeah, definitely check out the anime. Hope to see you guys for Relink and play some Rising. Zeta out. Also, hey, hold on. Throw this back on there. If you want to watch it currently, it is on Crunchyroll, so definitely get a Crunchyroll subscription. Hopefully they continue to update it from there. You have season 1 and season 2 in its entirety. You also have a part of season 1 on YouTube. That is like one of the coolest things that just happened very recently. I was literally just talking about it, and then all of a sudden it just happened. So definitely check it out. There's no excuse not to. It's free to check out on YouTube. Crunchyroll got the rest. Godspeed, everybody.
Man, it was not even that long ago, but it felt like it's forever. Granblue Fantasy Versus came out at probably one of the worst times of all time. The game itself is a masterclass, even the OG version, and what the game was aiming for. A lot of people call it anime Street Fighter, which in some ways, yes, that's the premise, but the game was so much more bigger than that. I remember doing the stages of that game, Belial was probably one of the more broken characters that had people raging in that game. However, the pandemic hit, the C word happened, and the game just fell off the map completely. Big reason for that is because the online netcode was atrocious, and when everything was on lockdown and you couldn't go out to play fighting games with your friends, which fighting games are a very one-on-one type of thing, so people like to social gather at events and tournaments and other places to play fighting games. When you couldn't do that, when Japanese fighting games have arguably some of the worst fighting games, not only online in their genre, but in the whole industry. So Granblue Versus fell off, and be honest with you, the first game, I love the game a lot for what it is. Was it my big excitement? Was it my click? I'm be honest, not really. I had a hard time getting into that game because of how hit effects were. It just didn't feel snappy enough at all. It didn't hit that way I wanted it to hit. However, even though people gave up and a lot of people moved around with Granblue, side games, Arc System kept pushing the game. They started bringing out battle passes, new updates, more DLC. Through the heat of controversy, they did not miss with this fighting game, and I appreciate them for that. Granblue Fantasy Versus had 2 seasons of DLC throughout all the hatred and controversy, but the people that really loved the game stayed on, and every time I would walk past at a tournament, it just made me show how much, regardless of how many people hate on your game or don't like your game or don't even play it, it don't matter as long as you play it. That's the most important thing at the end of the day when it comes to fighting games, and more importantly for Granblue Fantasy Versus. It also impacted me because it told the truth about how people actually feel about games. If you really cared about mechanics in fighting games, everybody will be playing Granblue Fantasy Versus. I'm just saying, that might be a hot take, but if you really cared about it, you would be playing that game. Mechanically, this game is astronomical.
But before we move on to the final entry, I thought why not do a little detour and talk about the many collaborations that Granblue Fantasy has over the years. Starting with in 2014, where Granblue Fantasy would collab with the Idolmaster, where characters from that series would appear in the Granblue Fantasy mobile game as part of collaboration. Then in 2015 we had the Tales series, where characters from the Tales of game known as Tales of Asteria would appear in Granblue Fantasy as part of not one, but 2 collaborations. Then in 2016 we had a few more collaborations, with franchises like Slayers, Street Fighter, Taiko no Tatsujin, and Sakura Wars. Then in 2017 we had a bunch more with things like Samurai Showdown, Touken Ranbu, Card Captor Sakura, Attack on Titan, and Side Games' other series, Shadowverse. And then the same went for 2018, when we had a bunch more including Rage of Bahamut, Detective Conan, Love Live, Zone of the Enders, Pretty Cure, and Printers Connect. And we did have at least 2 collaborations in 2019 in the forms of Code Geass and Gachapin. Then we had only just one collaboration in 2020, which was none other than Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. Then in 2021, things picked up a little bit with having things like BlazBlue, Gintama, and Doraemon. I hope I'm not butchering that badly. Then a little few more in 2022 when we had collaborations including Uma Musamune, again, hopefully not butchering that, as well as even Final Fantasy, note that being Final Fantasy XI, as well as of course also One Piece, which was obviously a special given the brand new, at the time, One Piece film Red. And then 2023 we also had of course Persona 5, the Grim Reaper of all collabs, though thankfully Granblue Fantasy is still going up to this point. And then in 2024, just now, we had things like the My Hero Academia collab, and just recently now, the upcoming 2B from Nier Automata as part of a collab with the upcoming, recently released Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising. And yeah, with that, that's a bunch of collabs we have. And with that said, it's now time to move over to the final entry of this retrospective.
If you were to tell me that Granblue Fantasy Versus was getting a big update, I probably wouldn't believe you. But turns out that big update was a whole nother fighting game. Honestly, going back and thinking about it, I would have thought that Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising was a actual patch update to go onto vanilla. But at the same time, it wouldn't make sense. But at the same time, it would. So what they did was kind of surprising, despite how minor the development history was, because when this game was being promoted, or sorry, when this game was being advertised, it didn't really have that impact that everybody was looking forward to. Yeah, by the time the game was already announced, then yeah, that's when the advertisement came in terms of what to expect for what the game was going to come with, like the new gameplay mechanics, like the graphic overhaul, and most important of all, rollback netcode, because I remember that a lot of people were pretty much just dumbfounded, or not dumbfounded, they were pretty sad that that this game was not going to have rollback netcode. By this guy I meant the vanilla Granblue Fantasy Versus. But when the Rising did, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were happy on that day. So what I like about it is the fact that there's some graphics that have been changed compared from this game to vanilla. Pretty minor character graphic differences. The characters are a little bit shiny. They add a little more, stuff you can pretty much tell if you put the character models side by side each other from vanilla to Rising. I do like how this game pretty much gave the characters more combo variety as they expanded upon things that what you can do compared to vanilla. Instead of just doing just one auto combo into a special and then go back to neutral, you can do a lot more than what you are presented with. Not only that, it pretty much just it gave more ways to try to play the game instead of just going back to the standard neutral game. With the gameplay mechanics, yes, they have added new things while taking away some things that were back in vanilla. In Vanilla Versus, there was a universal overhead. Kind of disappointed they kind of took that away. Not kind of, they did take that away. I want to say kind of, because you see some of the animations from that universal overhead that's been placed within the raging chain, but you won't actually see it until you actually manage to get the moves out. I love how they actually have a get off me mechanic when it comes to blocking. I may not use it that much, but it's there for when you need for an opponent to get off of you, especially if they're pressuring you in the corner. They even gave characters new special moves to compensate with the abilities that they already have, but it's to add a new twist to it. Or should I say, the twist being that the moves are stronger, or they have more priorities and properties that can give them that can give them advantages in the fight itself. The story mode, I didn't really care that much about it, because it's there. If it's there, if you want to experience the story within Granblue Rising, or vanilla for that matter. But it's there if you want to try to go through it. But I'm pretty sure majority of the player base didn't really play through the story like that and just hopped online. That's pretty standard within fighting game stuff, unless the lore of the fighting game itself is that interesting. Music is there, pretty much the same. They're all been carried over from the mobile game, if not like the music itself that's in the game are carried over from vanilla. So there's really not much I can say other than like some of them are pretty much a bop to listen to. Oh yeah, I can't end this section without mentioning the new characters that have been announced, like my boy Siegfried. Anila is a nice addition to the crew, and not only that, but you also have Lucilius, who has been pretty much that just dropped recently. The ones I played with was just Siegfried. He's really fun. It's out of the new cast of characters that have been added to this version of the game. Siegfried has been a blast. I love playing as him. Of course, there's more DLC coming around for characters like 2B, Vayne, and Beatrix. Honestly, I want Beatrix to come out before Vayne, but it is what it is. Just a little add this little note. There's a character I want in Granblue to come in for DLC, and that is Greya. Hopefully Kaiser will be able to put that on screen just so you guys know who she looks like. She's beautiful dragon girl, definitely one of my dragon waifus. She has fighting potential, and I really want to see her be playable within this game. Thanks, Kaiser, for letting me come through, and guys, enjoy the rest of the video.
And with that ends the retrospective. And thank you guys so much for watching, and special thanks to the wonderful people I got to collab with for this special project. It was an absolute honor, and please check them out when you have the time. They're absolutely amazing people. And with that said, we're just almost 1 week away from Granblue Fantasy Relink, and that's a game I'm really looking forward to. I played the demo, I absolutely loved it, and honestly, we just can't wait for this game, especially after the 8 years of waiting of development. I mean, this is it. This is finally coming. It's finally true. Granblue Fantasy Relink is real. With that said, let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed this retrospective, and tell me if you are a fan of Granblue Fantasy. Let me know what entry you got yourself into, and tell me your memories about it, all that good stuff. And with that said, until then, Mad Kaiser out.